youtube.com, Jamestown, California. We're going to go to downtown Fullerton right now, and we're going to take a quick cruise while I do a quick audio cast. So I'm going to leave the phone here on my stand. I want to talk about a couple of issues, starting with Basement Joe and his proposal for everyone to wear masks. And wearing masks is now pretty much a household thing to do now when you do leave your car and go into, say, the bank or the supermarket. But I have a couple of questions for Basement Joe regarding his mask and the way certain doctors like Dr. Fauci put their mask on and off. Number one, Basement Joe, my question is, are you wearing the same mask that I see for the last 2 weeks? That's my question. Do you wear the same mask, or being a presidential candidate, are you getting a brand new mask every day because you should be wearing a new mask every day, especially a person in your position? I'm concerned with Dr. Fauci and watching him put his mask off and on and then putting it into his sport coat or suit. And the way I do it is pretty simple. I have a plastic bag. I put mine in a plastic bag and I put it on and off. That way the mask doesn't get any germs. And that's what is important, that you're not putting on a dirty mask, getting yourself sick, because no one really has been honest about the entire information about this whole coronavirus and COVID-19. Number one, my first question that I was beating down ABC's network, asking the doctors during their platforms, trying to get a straight answer from them. Is COVID-19 replacing the flu or the common cold, where some people, not all people, some people that normally would get the flu every 3, 4, 5 years now are getting it replaced by COVID-19? They still haven't been able to answer the question. The answer to that question is yes. And that's the big one right there. They completely suppress information, and then the information that they're giving you isn't good enough. So right now we're going to downtown Fullerton. I'm going to take a cruise there and see how this opening up is doing. They're blaming opening up for the rise in cases versus the protests that had people coming and going from state to state. Now, some protests were local, and those protests, I believe, when they're in a local fashion, they are in a safe fashion. But when you're in Los Angeles and people are going from state to state while the governor is worried about these numbers going up, there is definitely reason for concern. And the left, to hear the selfishness of it's okay to go out and be out in front of millions of people or hundreds of thousands of people, but the rest of us have to stay home because the leaders are telling us, not giving us the correct information about it from day one. It looks like when this first happened, President Trump did try to suppress some of the information. That way it wouldn't get out to affect the economy from the December, January point. Although he did enforce the travel ban immediately when the first case came, that was the fatality. There's other things that you really need to take into consideration, and the trust factor. We're going to get into the hashtag Donald Trump or President Trump resign please. I'm the only person with the intelligence in the media, that's big and small, to know that the law has been broken at a certain point and that articles of impeachment are handed to you. And when I hear Chris Hayes idea sharing while other people are not doing their jobs, I am very concerned of the quality of information that I'm getting from certain channels when I'm getting quality information on other channels. Number one, this is a very important topic, because what's happening is, while you have the experts there telling everyone what they think we should do, the numbers continue to go up, and then the intelligent people that are staying home like me No one's giving us time of day when some real big news is coming up. And you guys are actually, in my opinion, you are politically doing this on purpose. Donald Trump said the words Kung Flu. Now, I have never heard a prejudice slur of that nature, a made up prejudice slur, of any prejudice I've ever heard. That one was new to me. And it hurts all Kung Fu businesses. It hurts people when they're walking around and other people kind of looking at them in a not nice way. Now, right here, we are in Highland and Commonwealth, and this is where all the signs are, right here at this corner, right in front of the police station. I'm going to go right back to the topic I was talking about. We're in downtown Fullerton. This is Jamestown Caliph on Twitter.com. I'm doing a quick audio video cast here. I'm in downtown Fullerton, kind of checking out how business is doing. Fullerton has been a real smart city, and they've done this very little by little by little, and to blame reopening on the reason why the cases are going up while Joe Biden doesn't change his mask, that's just not why the cases are going up. The cases are going up because no one told the truth about how these cases are going to go up. They're not talking about 5G at all. While everyone stayed home, in my opinion, a lot of these 4G towers were taken down and 5G towers were put up. Now, 5G does have proof that there are some health effects caused by it, more of burning and other things that are more in the radioactive or radiation, I don't know what they call it, waves. And they haven't talked about that. Those aren't important to the media when there's health effects from 5G. But when COVID-19, everyone has to stay home and lose their business. What should have happened in the first 2 weeks was everyone should have had their first 2 weeks paid leave, like vacation. That way we had 2 weeks to figure out what we were going to do while Dr. Fauci was bullshitting us and the President of the United States was telling his team to slow down testing so his poll numbers wouldn't start going down, because that's all he cares about. And that's in every international policy. And it's just a shame. I'm ashamed that he was able to sucker the Republican Party in the fashion. And the reason why he did is because Republicans didn't give time of day to real independents and conservatives while we were trying to help you. That's the reason. So we're in downtown Fullerton right now. It's pretty slow. As you can see, there's not a lot of people out. In fact, there's actually nobody out for a Saturday. So sitting here blaming that the cases are going up because, we're opening up, that's just not true. Now, young people now are starting to get it because it is replacing the flu or cough. And it's a certain kind of flu. It's a certain kind of SARS. They haven't told you about that. That it's a respiratory illness or sickness. The fact that younger people are getting it only tells me that the clubs or nightclubs are either opening behind everyone's back because they're completely broke, or that there's a different way that how young people are getting it. But to sit there and say that young people are going to give it to grandma and to blame everyone and throw us all in the Joe Biden basement basket while he's over there in the basement, I don't think the rest of us need to suffer because his lack of intelligence. The bottom line is we need to be out, we need to be working, and we need to be wearing masks when we go out of our into society, but we need to be changing that mask every week. I change my mask every couple of, certain periods of days, and I keep my mask in a plastic bag when I go in and out. I don't put it in my pocket so it can get dirty. And you gotta sanitize your hands before you even take the mask off. So I don't really know what Joe Biden's doing in trying to enforce everyone having to wear a mask. Now we're gonna go right back to the Kung Flu prejudice, and it's starting to have backlash. That some people are already experiencing prejudice because of what Donald Trump and his statements Kung Flu in Tulsa, and then again after he was questioned in the press conference, how he just smears it in everyone's face. We ask him, hey, I kind of went too far, and it was not just too far, it was grounds of impeachment, in my opinion. for saying Kung Flu and then saying it again. This is where politics is going to get juicy from now until the election. I would say that the Democrats have used all the aces for impeachment, but they were lying in the beginning about their first impeachment, number one. However, the Kung Flu statements and saying that you're going to slow down testing are new grounds of impeachment for a new president to come in. And the fact that the vice president sat there and embarrassed himself yesterday after all what I was trying to do to help, giving you the facts and the law, it's handed to you. The icing is on the cake. But Republicans just do not react. And Democrats only do things when they're political. The Democrats right now have the opportunity to sign the paperwork, get articles of impeachment in the House, vote for it, and then question all the Republicans about the Kung Flu statements. And I think half or more than half of the Republicans don't like what they're hearing and believe that the president should be impeached for those new grounds. Slowing down testing, his team directing it, and saying Kung Flu, acting in prejudice, entices dislike and violence, and is just a complete motherfuck to all people that are fighting in Kung Fu. It is just not right. It's like putting a chip in someone's head. And that's what the President of the United States did. He put a chip in everyone's head to be prejudiced. And this is why there's all this other prejudice. And in my opinion, the sooner Donald Trump resigns, the sooner all the rest of the stuff in the country is going to stop. Now, my question is why haven't the Democrats already filed for articles of impeachment? The answer, well, I told Gavin Newsom and wrote on his Twitter page about the new grounds of impeachment. You want to know what happened after that? No grounds of impeachment have been filed, according to my knowledge right now, at least as of today is Saturday. And Joe Biden is already using the talking points for his political election, saying, oh, he's slowing down testing and he's trying to get more percentage points. Political. If the House were to vote for articles of impeachment, I guarantee you the Senate would vote yes, because the Republicans need to save their souls right now. And this is an opportunity. I am single-handedly able to take down both parties with this issue because no one and their mom has the intelligence to understand what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is the Democrats, by not filing for articles of impeachment, show that you know you're going to win the election and you don't care. So you're willing to let the whole country go down. Nothing in the Congress being passed from now until the end of the year, just so Joe Biden could win. Political. Republicans, no one's saying anything. Kung Flu is the meanest thing I've ever heard a president say to anybody. It has nothing to do with China, and it has nothing to do with Wuhan, and it has nothing to do with the coronavirus. It's Kung Fu. He said Kung Flu. I mean, what kind of loser would say that? I mean, he's making up prejudice as he's going along. And I want to talk to you about this. We're at 13 and a half minutes. I'm going to leave the take at 15 minutes. Jamestown Caliph on Twitter.com. Real quick, I want to talk about the Brett Baer, Martha McCallum broadcast. And I really appreciate the work you guys have done, especially this week, that using and knowing the information that's being shared now making you stronger by asking better questions, because the people on the other side don't think that you do know the information, but you do, and they all look really bad the way they're answering some of these questions because they're totally lying about it. And then to hear this new wave of dislike in these groups, also what I noticed yesterday with families in California, it's equivalent to what Donald Trump said with Kung Flu. And I really think that some of these groups need to reconsider their language and stances and maybe just not throw in the towel, but change the way you guys are broadcasting your opinions, because what I'm hearing when you say that all lives don't matter, or and you turn it around, or that babies don't matter in the 8th month, I'm just not sure where we're standing on all the issues. And I just find that Democrats are politicizing all of this. Number one, we're going to get back and talk about the international policy on my next take, because it answers a lot of my questions regarding the Trump policy towards certain countries because of his prejudice. And I want to talk about that in another take. YouTube.com, Jamestown, California. You don't win California, you don't win the ticket. And last election, California voted blue. Now, for California is going to most likely vote blue anyway this election, but to have it win it 2 times in a row, or with the same candidate, it's just not possible. But with a different candidate, it is possible. Now, Mike Pence ruined his opportunity yesterday by making a complete douchebag of himself, saying how great Donald Trump and his team is doing while he's telling the team to slow down testing so his poll numbers aren't affected. So what the Republicans need is either the vice president to lead or the vice president to step down and put a female there and a Latina there as the defense, 1, 2, and 3. And you would have all the branches of government in a diverse manner, and the Republicans need to act first because the Democrats are already beating you to the punch. The Democrats should be impeaching Donald Trump in the House right now. Some Asian American Democrat who heard those statements has to be appalled of what she heard. And if she's not filling out the paperwork for Donald Trump to be out of the office, impeach is the word, then I'm going to question the entire Democratic Party of why they're not jumping on it, knowing the Republicans are on board with this. And you will have a unanimous decision in the House and the Senate, and Donald Trump will be impeached by the 4th of July or 4th of July week if you do your job the following week. And I have nothing else to say, because if you do not impeach Donald Trump, and I'm going to hear Chris Hayes idea share and sit there and take my ideas while I'm trying to get a job in media, and he's sitting there ripping me off. They have basically ripped off the State of the Union in our democracy that I wrote so we don't use oil as much in 2006 under the Bush administration. They are ripping that book apart, piece by piece, areas I want to talk about, including the Civil War. They are ripping that book apart because they don't think, because I'm not a New York Times bestseller, that F me. That's what's happening in all my work. I'm noticing it. They're just going through it and they're saying, oh, that's how he thinks. Well, let's reverse it. And it's all being reversed, and it's all being reversed incorrectly. The whole Green Deal, it's all the State of the Union in our democracy, so we could be more efficient of instead of using gas and paying at the time $4 and $5 a gallon, we would go to different ways. But you guys always have it to be political, and then you want to bankrupt the country. The ideas I had was going to pay off the national debt. It just shows the difference between human beings, between one individual. Why the Constitution protects the individual versus the entire Democratic Nimrod political prejudice party. They are equivalent to the Trump administration, but vice versa. And don't let anyone else tell you. And that includes Brian Williams and that entire MSNBC, who still haven't come up with the idea yet of how to impeach Donald Trump when it's handed to you on a silver platter. He handed it to you last week, and Kung Flu was the icing on the cake. So I'm going to question the entire media and the entire Democratic Party of what the F is taking you so long to fill out the paperwork, knowing that the House will be put on the spot and every Republican will have either yes or no vote, and if they do not vote to impeach Donald Trump over the Kung Flu statements, their campaigns is in the refrigerator, the doors closed, the lights out, the butter's getting hard and the jello's jiggling. I don't think you people understand the importance of this. Either Donald Trump resigns and we have other candidates, or we're going to have no candidate to choose from. Because Basement Joe, he's not changing his mask. And it's absolutely hideous and ridiculous. The Democratic Party and its charade. And trying to blame reopening why the cases are going up. The cases are going up because Congress did not appropriate enough money for people to stay home and to save their homes and businesses, and they were forced to go back to work. Instead of being so greedy and wanting part of the people's money for the new Green Deal, you should have saved that money or put that money to where people were getting checks every month to keep their businesses open and have a 90-day extension for all bills and work it out with the banks that you just bailed out. Instead, you bankrupt the country and people are forced now to go back to work, and you're going to blame them. And then now you're diverting everything with these movements and diverting everything now with the statues. It is absolutely something you need to look at if the government has a hand on this. Remember, there's the USA and there's the USG. The US government is not the USA. The USG is the government, but a lot of those guys are foreign people, like foreign countries, like possibly leaders from hostile countries like Iran. It's very important that you guys need to get this information correct. Otherwise, they're going to waltz right in here and no one's going to defend our land because everyone's so brainwashed. It is absolutely a national security issue that Donald Trump does not resign by the 4th of July because he's taking down the ship with him. And the ship is already going down at full speed. And there's nothing that's going to stop it. It's going to crash right in the bed of the ocean. Do you want to be in that boat when he crashes? No, you do not. You need to start doing your job, the media. I don't like hearing Chris Hayes taking my ideas. I don't mind hearing Chris Wallace talk about that the president's in trouble because he's catching on to one of my songs. And I am trying to speak through music during those hours. But when I hear Chris Hayes take my idea, well, they've had 2 weeks now to jump on it, and then on hashtag President Trump resign please, I'm the only one with the movement to get him to resign when he should already resign or be impeached. What's taking the people with the money and all the laws so long to do the same thing that the law is the law. Kung Flu is the meanest thing I've ever heard a president ever say in a rally for his political polls. And he should be ashamed of himself. He should not only resign, but he should apologize. YouTube.com, Jamestown, California.